Welcome to Dharma Wisdom Talks, a space where we explore deep life lessons and Buddhist philosophy. In this life, every moment that passes holds its own meaning, an opportunity for us to reflect on ourselves and the world around us. There's a powerful saying, yesterday was beautiful, today is tough, and tomorrow is a new beginning, but so many people miss out on today. This makes us think, are we truly living fully in each moment? Are we so caught up in the past, or too worried about the future, that we miss out on the precious opportunities life gives us right now? In Buddhism, the present moment is considered the most valuable because only by living fully in the here and now can we truly understand and change our lives. Today, we'll dive into the importance of living in the present moment and how we can make the most of the opportunities life presents to us today. Relationships in life, understanding help and compassion through Buddhism. When it comes to relationships in life, especially through the lens of Buddhism and its philosophy, we must look at three key aspects: compassion, the concept of dependent origination, and the true value of helping others. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate compassion, the ability to help and share with others, especially those who are suffering. However, help doesn't always lead to positive outcomes. Sometimes, helping in the wrong way or with the wrong person can actually backfire. In Buddhism, there's a concept called dependent origination, which teaches that everything arises due to conditions, and nothing exists independently. If we try to help someone who doesn't have the right conditions or mindset to receive help, even with the best of intentions, our efforts may not lead to any positive change. Sometimes, help can even be misunderstood or create dependency, preventing the person from improving their situation. The idea of not knowing better can refer to people who fail to appreciate the help they receive or lack the understanding of its true value. In Buddhism, wisdom, prajna, is an important virtue everyone should develop. Wisdom helps us clearly see the nature of suffering and how to overcome it. Without this understanding, people may fail to recognize the purpose of the help offered, and our actions can feel meaningless to them. A well-known Buddhist story illustrates this. If someone isn't ready or willing to change, our help might just keep them stuck in a cycle of suffering without bringing any real change. Buddhism teaches us not only about compassion but also about wisdom. Helping others should be done thoughtfully, with an understanding of the person's situation and their ability to receive help. A wise person knows when to help and when to step back, allowing others to find their own way. This discernment helps us avoid the mistake of helping those who cannot truly benefit. In one famous Buddhist story, the Buddha refused to help someone who asked for help without understanding the true path to liberation. The Buddha taught them that instead of seeking help from others, they needed to develop their own wisdom and change their mindset to free themselves from suffering. Helping others is a noble and necessary act in life, but it requires careful consideration. It cannot just be a spontaneous reaction. It must be guided by wisdom, understanding, and compassion. Buddhism teaches us that instead of offering unconditional help without considering the conditions or mindset of the person in need, we should help with mindfulness and awareness. In some cases, it's important to know when to let go and allow the person to face their own challenges. Helping should always come with mindfulness, and more importantly, we should help others empower themselves rather than doing everything for them. Helping doesn't always bring the desired results, but if we understand and apply the principles of Buddhism correctly, we can avoid the mistake of helping those who do not appreciate it. Helping in the right way, at the right time, and with the right person not only reduces suffering for others but also helps us grow in wisdom and compassion. Sometimes, the things you dislike or throw away can actually be valuable to many others. This idea about value and shifting our perspective in life, especially in the context of Buddhist philosophy, reminds us to change the way we view everything from material objects to human relationships and emotions. Shifting perspectives and mindset. In Buddhism, everything is considered impermanent, anicca, nothing lasts forever, and everything is constantly changing. This applies not only to objects but also to our emotions, desires, and human relationships. What we may see as worthless or disgusting at one moment can hold significant value in another context or from a different perspective. For example, in life, there may be things that we no longer need, such as old clothes or items that have no use for us anymore. However, for someone else, these items may be a treasure. Things that seem worthless to us could be valuable to the poor, to those who need them for reuse, creativity, or simply for their own purposes. Value and how it's perceived in life. We often look at the value of things or situations through the lens of personal convenience and subjective views. Buddhism teaches us the concept of emptiness, sunyata, meaning that nothing has an inherent, fixed essence. Their value only depends on how we perceive and relate to them. What we may think of as useless or disgusting might be something another person sees as necessary or precious. For example, an old coat that we no longer need could become a warm gift for a homeless person or a charity organization. This also applies to relationships. Negative emotions or people we no longer want to be close to might be very valuable to them. At a particular moment, we may dislike someone's presence, but if we look at the situation from a different angle, we might realize that the relationship has value in a different context or in our personal growth. Developing compassion for ourselves and others. In Buddhism, one of the essential virtues we need to develop is compassion, karu, not only towards others but also towards ourselves. What we see as disgusting or worthless may reflect aspects of ourselves that are still unfinished. In fact, sometimes the negative emotions or suffering we experience are the very source of our personal growth and awakening. For example, in Buddhism, suffering is not something to completely avoid but rather something to understand and accept. It's an opportunity to develop wisdom, prajna, and insight into the nature of impermanence. When we can move beyond feelings of disgust or rejection, we'll find that it is often in the most difficult situations where we learn the most valuable lessons about ourselves and the world around us. Transforming what we dislike into opportunity. Buddhism emphasizes transforming suffering into happiness, and this transformation can apply to things we may consider unwanted. The things we've discarded or overlooked can become the foundation for rebuilding our lives and enriching our experiences. One important principle in Buddhism is that everything can change if we approach it with the right understanding and the ability to let go. The real goal is to transform negative emotions, hardships, and things we think are of no value into opportunities for growth. Buddhism doesn't teach us to avoid suffering, but rather to master it and turn it into a source of positive energy. The lesson of not throwing away what seems valueless. A key lesson in life is not to quickly discard what we don't see value in. When we can return to a situation with an open mind, without judgment, we'll find that many things we thought were meaningless can actually turn out to be great opportunities. This reflects the Buddhist law of karma. Every action, no matter how small, has an impact and can lead to unexpected results. The saying, "Sometimes the things you dislike or throw away can have great value to many others," is a reminder about shifting our perspective and seeing value in everything. We shouldn't judge anything based solely on our preferences or aversions. Instead, we should approach everything with compassion and wisdom, to recognize the deeper value in what may seem meaningless at first. This not only helps us broaden our perspective but also creates new opportunities for ourselves and others, contributing to harmony and peace in life. Beware of sweet things, they may not be as good as you think. This saying serves as a reminder of the importance of caution and deep awareness in life. It warns us about the hidden traps that lie beneath the surface of things, especially when we're drawn to what seems attractive or pleasant, but may ultimately carry unwanted consequences. In Buddhist philosophy, this idea relates to concepts like dependent origination, impermanence, and the understanding of suffering, dukkha. The sweet things might be traps. In life, we are often drawn to things that feel good, things that seem appealing right from the start. This might include flattery, glamour, or things that society deems success, such as money, power, or fame. However, Buddhism teaches that everything in life is impermanent, anicca, meaning that nothing lasts forever. These sweet things, if not fully understood, can lead to attachments, illusions, and ultimately suffering. For instance, someone might get caught up in material temptations, thinking that wealth or fame will bring lasting happiness. But when they achieve these things, they often feel empty and unfulfilled. The sweetness of external achievements can never fill the internal void. It's desire and greed that amplify suffering, not alleviate it. The outside might not reflect the true nature. This saying also ties into the contrast between appearances and reality. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha teaches that the material world is just a small part of the path of spiritual growth. The outside of things or people can often deceive us. A good example is relationships that appear sweet and intimate on the surface, but are actually hiding deceit, manipulation, or insincerity. We might see a friendship, romantic relationship, or job that seems perfect, but in reality, hidden negative elements may only show up later. Only when we cultivate enough wisdom and awareness can we truly see things for what they are. The sweet in our own minds. Sometimes, sweet things relate to negative emotions hidden deep in our own minds, like pride, arrogance, or greed. We might feel satisfied with momentary thoughts or feelings, but these can lead to poor decisions in life. In Buddhism, practitioners are advised to keep their minds calm and not be distracted by the sweet feelings of desire or craving. These emotions can easily cloud our judgment and lead us astray when making important decisions. It's similar to eating sweet food constantly. Initially it feels good, but if consumed too much, it will harm our health in the long run. Beware of dependency and complacency. This saying can also refer to becoming overly dependent on sweet things in life. We may get used to the comfort of pleasant sensations, but if we become too dependent on them, we lose our independence and freedom. The sweet things we chase after can create dependence on external factors like material possessions, other people, or temporary situations. Meanwhile, Buddhism teaches that true happiness doesn't come from external factors, but from awareness, mindfulness, and mastering our minds. If we constantly chase after external sweetness, we risk losing ourselves and falling into a cycle of temporary satisfaction, which ultimately leads to suffering. Compassion and wisdom in evaluating sweetness. In Buddhism, developing both wisdom, prajna, and compassion, kuru, is key to evaluating everything in life. Wisdom helps us understand that all things are impermanent, and we need to look at them from a deeper, more insightful perspective, not just their outward appearance. Compassion, on the other hand, helps us not only be cautious with the sweetness that comes our way but also to help others see things clearly. We can be alert to material temptations or sweet words, but at the same time, we must face the suffering of others with empathy and kindness. This saying is not just a reminder about the dangers hidden in seemingly pleasant things, but also a call to cultivate the ability to deeply perceive the world around us. Sweet things may sometimes be nothing more than temporary illusions, and if we're not careful, we can easily fall into the traps of desire and suffering. Buddhism teaches us that true happiness doesn't come from external things, but from awareness and spiritual practice. Only when we have enough wisdom and compassion to see things clearly can we avoid the traps of false sweetness and find true peace in life. When you choose the wrong direction, the harder you try, the more stuck you'll become. This saying holds a deep philosophical truth about the importance of making the right choices in life and the cost of not having proper guidance. It reminds us that sometimes, no matter how hard we try or how determined we are, our efforts will be meaningless if we are heading in the wrong direction from the start. In the context of Buddhism, this idea can be understood through concepts like dependent origination, impermanence, and wisdom. The importance of choosing the right path. In Buddhism, choosing the right path is crucial because it impacts our entire spiritual journey and personal growth. This saying can be applied to the choice of a spiritual path. If a person does not have a clear understanding of their path, no matter how much effort they put in, they will never reach the goal of enlightenment, nirvana. It's like walking down the wrong road. No matter how far you go, you'll never end up where you want to be. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha presents the Noble Eightfold Path as the right way to attain enlightenment. If someone chooses a different path, no matter how hard they try, they won't be able to achieve liberation. This shows just how important it is to choose the right direction, not only in life but in spiritual practice as well. Impermanence and wrong choices. A core teaching in Buddhism is anicca, impermanence, meaning that everything changes and nothing lasts forever. This applies to our life situations as well. If we choose the wrong direction, we may fail to recognize change or fail to understand the impermanent nature of things. Our efforts might only make us feel more stuck, like a boat rowing against the current. A wrong direction might stem from a misunderstanding of the nature of suffering, dukkha, or a lack of wisdom in recognizing what truly leads to lasting happiness. Holding onto the wrong path can trap us in a cycle of meaningless pursuits, leading to continuous suffering. Buddhism teaches that only when we truly understand suffering and impermanence can we overcome mistakes and find the right path. Effort and results, the relationship between goals and direction. Whenever we make an effort, especially when trying to achieve a goal, it's essential to have a clear goal and direction. If we are aiming for the wrong goal, No matter how hard we try, we will never reach what we truly desire. The harder we try, the more deeply we can fall into the mistake and despair. In Buddhism, the Buddha stresses the importance of understanding our spiritual goals. It's not about blind effort but about having wisdom, prajna, to recognize and follow the right path. The Buddha taught that only when we are on the right path does our effort lead to positive results. If we go down the wrong path, our effort will be in vain. Dependent origination and the interconnection of all things. A key concept in Buddhism is pradhyatyasamutpada, dependent origination, which teaches that everything arises due to causes and conditions. Choosing the wrong path might come from a lack of understanding of these causes and conditions. Without wisdom, we may fail to realize that the factors in our life are leading us into a vicious cycle where our efforts cannot free us from suffering. Dependent origination teaches that all things are interconnected, and nothing exists independently. If we fail to understand the factors influencing our lives, it's hard to make the right choices. Every action and decision we make is linked to other elements in our lives. That's why choosing the right path from the beginning is so important. The consequences of going the wrong way. Ultimately, choosing the wrong direction not only makes us feel stuck, but it can also lead to negative consequences in life. Walking down the wrong path means we are moving further away from our true goals, and all of our efforts become meaningless. It's like trying to climb the wrong mountain. No matter how hard you climb, you will only become exhausted and never reach the summit. In Buddhism, this is similar to living without mindfulness and right concentration. Without clear awareness of the path we are on, we are easily deceived by goals that don't lead to lasting happiness. Buddhism encourages us to be patient and mindful, knowing when to pause and change direction if we realize we're going the wrong way. When you choose the wrong direction, the harder you try, the more stuck you will become is a powerful reminder of how important it is to make clear and mindful choices in life. We cannot keep pushing forward on a wrong path, because it will only lead to greater frustration and suffering. In Buddhist philosophy, the right path is one of awareness, wisdom, and mindfulness. We need to make sure we choose the right direction, and as we walk that path, each step should be taken with a deep understanding of suffering and impermanence. When we follow the right direction, our efforts will be rewarded and will bring true peace and happiness. The more you know, the smaller your ego becomes. The less you know, the bigger your ego gets. This saying reflects a profound truth about the role of humility and the limitations of the self in our lives and thoughts. It's not just a reflection on intellectual growth but also a reminder of the importance of mindfulness in the journey of self-awareness and spiritual practice. The ego and its role in Buddhism. In Buddhist philosophy, the ego represents our sense of self, the belief that we are the center of everything. A person with limited knowledge often sees themselves as the most important, thinking they know everything, and is easily driven by desire and pride. On the other hand, someone with deep understanding realizes that they are just a small part of the vast universe, and that the ego doesn't exist independently or permanently. As we gain more knowledge about the world and come to understand impermanence, anicca, selflessness, anatta, and suffering, dukkha, our ego becomes more humble. Wisdom is not just about accumulating information, but about seeing things clearly for what they truly are. When we grasp the concept of impermanence, we understand that everything, including the ego, is always changing and nothing is permanent. This helps us detach from our ego, accept that we don't have all the answers, and cultivate humility in our thoughts and actions. The ego as the source of suffering. Buddhism teaches that the ego is the root of suffering. When we cling to it, we are easily consumed by desire and attachment, which lead to pain. The more we understand the nature of selflessness and impermanence in all things, the smaller our ego becomes, and we begin to live with mindfulness, forgiveness, and compassion. When a person's knowledge is limited, their ego tends to grow, often leading to arrogance. They might think, "I'm the only one who understands," or "I'm the only one who's right." This closes them off from the perspectives of others, and they believe they can control everything. But this illusion often leads to misunderstandings and self-deception. In Buddhism, this is akin to someone who hasn't yet grasped the concepts of non-self and impermanence. Their inflated ego traps them in pride and stubbornness, preventing them from seeing the truth, and as a result, they remain stuck in suffering. Awakening and the illusion of the self. Awakening in Buddhism helps us realize that the ego is merely a collection of elements: body, mind, feelings, and perceptions. There is no fixed, independent self. When we come to understand this, our ego diminishes, and we stop clinging to it. A wise person understands that life doesn't revolve around them alone, it is about interconnectedness with everything. They are not driven by power struggles, the need for recognition, or validation. They don't place excessive expectations on themselves and recognize that no one can control everything. This insight reduces arrogance and self-centeredness in their hearts. The relationship between the ego and reality. In today's world, where we are constantly confronted with values like success, recognition, and social status, the ego can easily be inflated and take control. Many people feel the need to constantly prove themselves, always wanting to show they are better than others. But as our knowledge increases, we come to realize that the truth isn't just about proving ourselves right. Reality is an ever-changing flow, and the ego is just a small part of it. Buddhism teaches that self-awareness is key to escaping suffering. The more we understand non-self, the more we recognize that everything is in a state of flux, and nothing in life is permanent. This awareness makes our ego shrink, and we begin to live in harmony with others and the world around us. The wisdom to shrink the ego. The truth that the ego shrinks as wisdom grows is a deep principle in Buddhism. As we understand the impermanence of all things, the interconnectedness of life, and the nature of dependent origination, our ego becomes smaller, and we are able to live more peacefully and happily. This is when we are no longer driven by greed, anger, or pride, but instead by understanding, freedom, and mindfulness. Remember, as wisdom develops, we stop seeing everything through the lens of the ego. Instead, we begin to recognize our connection with the world around us, and live a life of peace and ease. In life, everyone has a different perspective. They may be wrong, but that doesn't mean you're always right. This saying reminds us about the complexity of life and the relativity of each person's perception. It's also a lesson in humility, respecting differences, and accepting the fact that everyone sees the world through their own unique lens. Everyone has their own perspective. In life, everyone brings their own history, experiences, and context to the table. That's why how they view a situation or problem is shaped by those factors. One person might see something one way, while another sees it completely differently. Buddhism teaches that all things are interdependent, dependent origination. This means everything is influenced by surrounding factors. Everyone has their own way of perceiving things, but there's no single, absolute right way. Our perception is shaped by countless elements, like our past, culture, personal values, and ability to perceive. No one can see everything through just one lens. Mistakes and the relativity of truth. The phrase, "they may be wrong, but that doesn't mean you're always right," reflects the relativity of opinions. Just because someone might be wrong in a particular situation doesn't mean your viewpoint is absolutely correct. This is especially true when there are multiple viewpoints or approaches. Buddhism encourages us to be mindful and not get too attached to our personal opinions. When we cling too strongly to our point of view, without realizing it might be just a part of the bigger picture, we become less humble and more prone to error. Buddhism teaches that liberation comes from realizing there's no fixed self and no permanent right viewpoint. Everything is in constant flux and can be seen from multiple angles. Respecting differences and self-awareness. Everyone has the right to their own perspective, and these differences should be respected. When we encounter someone with a contrary opinion, it's important not to jump to conclusions and say they're wrong and we're right. Instead, we should listen and try to understand why they think the way they do. In many cases, dialogue and sharing can help expand our awareness and allow us to learn from others' viewpoints. Buddhism encourages us to listen with both heart and mind, because when we truly listen, we not only gain new knowledge but also reduce conflict and build harmony in our lives. If we insist on always being right and refuse to hear other perspectives, we limit ourselves to a narrow view and prevent our understanding from growing. The ego and personal beliefs. In many cases, the ego can cloud our ability to see the truth. When we cling to our beliefs too strongly, the ego acts as a barrier between us and the world around us. Buddhism teaches that the ego is the root of all suffering, as it makes us see ourselves as the center of the universe, viewing everything through the lens of our own self-importance, without accepting differences. When the ego grows, we are quick to judge and assume others are wrong, while we fail to see our own potential errors. It's like looking through a magnifying glass, our ego, only seeing things within its narrow range while missing the broader truth. Learning from differences. Buddhism encourages us to view differences as opportunities for learning and growth. Open-mindedness is the key to discovering truth. Every different viewpoint can be a piece of the puzzle, and this diversity adds richness to life. When we learn from people with different opinions, we develop skills like listening, empathy, and acceptance. These virtues help us grow spiritually and build better relationships in society. Life is full of differing opinions, and respecting these differences is crucial for living peacefully and happily. The saying in life, everyone has a different perspective. They may be wrong, but that doesn't mean you're always right, reminds us that truth is not always absolute, and each person's perspective holds its own value. Let's always remain humble and open to learning from others, listening to their differences, and respecting them. This is the path to personal growth and deeper understanding in life. You don't always need to say everything you know, and you shouldn't fully believe everything you see. This is a reminder about humility, caution, and the need for deep awareness in life. It's not just a call to respect others, but also a piece of advice on managing information and developing critical thinking in today's world where things are not always as they appear or as we understand them. You don't have to say everything you know. Not speaking about everything you know reflects humility and wisdom in communication. Just because someone has knowledge doesn't mean they should flaunt it all the time. There are moments when holding back what you know and sharing it at the right time can create a more harmonious and understanding environment. Buddhism teaches that silence and stillness can help maintain peace of mind. By not always saying everything we know, we avoid arrogance and preserve humility in relationships. Wise people understand that sometimes, silence is golden. In social relationships, holding back some knowledge isn't about hiding things, it's a way of respecting others, especially when sharing isn't necessary or helpful. Listening and understanding what others say is often more important than focusing solely on conveying what we know. You shouldn't fully believe everything you see. This part highlights the need for mindfulness and sharp judgment when receiving information and observing the world. Our eyes and minds are often clouded by subjective factors like emotions, beliefs, or even illusions created by our ego. What we see isn't always a true reflection of reality, so we need to be careful and analyze everything before fully believing in it. In Buddhism, the concepts of impermanence, anicca, and non-self, anatta, are essential for understanding that all things are changing and nothing is fixed. What we see, hear, or feel is just a temporary reflection of reality, and we cannot fully trust these illusions. This requires us to stay awake and cautious when judging situations. A simple example is when we see someone behaving badly or in an unpleasant way, we might immediately judge them as a bad person. However, if we don't understand the context, their emotions, or the deeper reasons behind their actions, our judgment may be wrong. Buddhism teaches us not to rush into conclusions about others, but to view things from a wider perspective. Be careful when sharing knowledge and observations. When you share knowledge or information, remember that not everyone is always ready to receive it. Sharing too much can sometimes lead to conflict or frustration, especially if the listeners are at a different level of awareness or don't share your experiences. Effective communication isn't just about sharing what you know, it's also about listening and understanding others. This helps create a healthy communication space where people can learn and grow without feeling pressured or imposed upon. Additionally, when you observe an event or situation, it's important to analyze it deeply and not rush to conclusions. Buddhism teaches that all things have specific causes and conditions that lead to them, and we need to understand these factors before making any conclusions. If you see a wrongful action, there may be deeper causes you're unaware of, so being cautious and humble in judgment is crucial. Not fully believing what you see helps to expand your mind and avoid falling into illusions. When you aren't swayed by appearances, it becomes easier to accept the truth, which is often not exactly what we think or feel. In many situations, when we don't fully believe what we see, we can spot misleading signs or the hidden side of things, allowing us to make better, more informed decisions. This is especially important when making decisions in life, work, and relationships. Mindfulness, humility, and sharp judgment. You don't always need to say everything you know, and you shouldn't fully believe everything you see is a reminder about humility, caution, and mindfulness in all our actions and thoughts. This is especially important in today's society, where information is overwhelming, and people are often distracted by their emotions and personal biases. Always control your words, be cautious when observing, and analyze situations deeply to avoid being deceived by surface appearances. By doing so, we can live a more truthful, mindful, and peaceful life. Sometimes we have to take a step back to move 3 steps forward. This saying carries a deep message about flexibility, adaptability, and long-term strategy in life. It reminds us that progress doesn't always happen in a straight line. Sometimes, stepping back is a wise choice that sets the stage for bigger leaps forward in the future. Taking a step back to measure bigger steps forward. This idea brings to mind a principle in Buddhism about practicing patience and careful preparation. In reality, to achieve a major goal, we might need to pause or even step back to reassess our direction, find more effective approaches, and avoid mistakes along the way. In Buddhism, this can be seen as refining ourselves, adjusting our actions, and ultimately working toward liberation. Taking a step back doesn't mean failure or retreating in life. It's often part of the process of realigning our goals and mentally preparing for stronger, more sustainable progress. Sometimes, we need a moment to think, reflect, and prepare ourselves for the bigger opportunities ahead. Wisdom in knowing when to step back. In life, stepping back might mean temporarily yielding to a situation so we can regain control and set ourselves up for growth down the road. Buddhism encourages us not to cling to our egos and to avoid rushing decisions, because often our ego can lead us astray. Wisdom isn't always about pushing forward toward a goal, it's about knowing when to stop and find balance within ourselves and the world around us. Accepting a step back might mean allowing someone else the opportunity or even holding back anger and remaining calm during a tense situation. In some cases, stepping back can help us minimize harm and find a wiser path to achieving our long-term goals. The importance of stepping back in relationships. In relationships, sometimes stepping back is a way to reduce tension and build mutual respect. When you feel a relationship is growing tense or facing conflict, instead of confronting the situation head-on and trying to prove you're right, stepping back to listen and understand the other person can bring peace and harmony. Buddhism teaches us that in any relationship, we shouldn't hold on to our ego but should learn to listen, understand, and sometimes make sacrifices to maintain peace and love. Accepting a step back in a relationship is an act of respecting differences and empathizing with others, which fosters harmony and strengthens connections. Accepting a step back to gain momentum for the future. Victory doesn't always come immediately. Sometimes, we have to accept short-term losses or temporarily pause a project to restructure and create better opportunities for the future. This is a long-term strategy, not a sign of temporary failure. In such circumstances, stepping back can help us refocus on the things that truly matter and find a better way forward. Liberation through accepting impermanence. Buddhism has an important concept called anicca, impermanence, which means that everything changes and nothing is fixed. Accepting this impermanence allows us to remain flexible in any situation and understand that changes and adjustments are unavoidable. When we understand that everything is in constant flux, we no longer feel fear or pride when we need to step back. In fact, stepping back can become an opportunity for learning, self-improvement, and preparing for stronger, more confident steps forward. Calmness, patience, and flexibility are the essential virtues needed to overcome challenges and progress in life. Final thoughts. Sometimes we have to take a step back to move 3 steps forward is a profound piece of advice about embracing change, stepping back when necessary, and reassessing our direction in order to achieve bigger goals. In life, moving forward continuously isn't always the best approach. Sometimes, slowing down, pausing, or stepping back can create opportunities for more sustainable growth in the future. What's important is to remain mindful, patient, and prepared for changes. We may not know when the next opportunity will arise, but when we learn to embrace change and take a step back at the right moment, we'll be able to move forward more strongly and achieve greater progress in our lives. Yesterday was beautiful, today feels overwhelming, but tomorrow is a new beginning. Yet, many people miss out on today. This phrase reflects the constant flow of time and the challenges we face in life. It also serves as a reminder of the importance of the present moment and mindfulness in each moment. It's often our lack of attention to the present that causes us to miss out on valuable opportunities. Yesterday, a beautiful memory. Yesterday is filled with beautiful memories and experiences that many people long to relive. We often reminisce about the past, seeing it as a time when everything seemed easier, more joyful. But Buddhism teaches us that, while the past can be full of cherished memories, we shouldn't cling to it. Our ego may get attached to the past, which can prevent us from moving forward. The past is a picture we can't change. While it offers us valuable lessons, living in the past only robs us of opportunities and prevents us from fully experiencing the present. Today, the present moment. Today is the present moment, where we are living right now, yet many people find themselves feeling disheartened, tired, or stuck. We often face struggles, challenges, and unexpected situations in daily life. The feeling that today is difficult may be a reflection of failures or pain we're currently experiencing. In Buddhism, recognizing and accepting suffering is the first step toward liberation. Suffering isn't something inherently bad, it's a vital part of our spiritual practice and purification. Rather than avoiding or denying challenges, Buddhism teaches us to embrace them as opportunities to awaken and learn. Every difficult moment can become a step forward on the path of personal growth. However, it's important not to get trapped in the pain. The present isn't just about the challenges we face, it's also an opportunity to change and rebuild from where we are right now. Tomorrow, a new beginning. Tomorrow always holds hope, new opportunities, and is a fresh start for all of us. No matter how tough or discouraging today may feel, we always have the chance to begin again tomorrow. This is part of impermanence, a key principle in Buddhism. Everything changes, and tomorrow brings new possibilities. Tomorrow may not promise to be easier, but at least it offers hope and a chance to begin anew. This reminds us that it's never too late to change or start over. A mindful attitude and perseverance are key to not only surviving challenges but finding ways to rise above them. Missing opportunities in the present. Even though today is full of opportunities and the potential for change, many people miss them because they're too focused on the past or overly anxious about the future. These individuals may overlook current opportunities because they don't recognize their value, or they're too wrapped up in worries and negative thinking. Buddhism teaches us about mindfulness, being fully present in the moment without being swayed by the past or future. If we're constantly mourning what's gone or worrying about what's coming, we'll miss out on the precious things life has to offer right now. Mindfulness in the present moment is the key to making the most of the time and opportunities available to us today. For example, you might miss out on learning and growing in your career simply because you're afraid of failure. Or, you might overlook meaningful moments in your relationships because you're too preoccupied with past events or what's to come. The only way to truly appreciate today is to live with focus and full awareness of what's happening around you. A powerful reminder to live in the present. Yesterday was beautiful, today feels overwhelming, but tomorrow is a new beginning. Yet, many people miss out on today is a powerful reminder about the significance of the present moment in life. The past and the future may be beautiful or scary concepts, but the present is the only thing we can truly control and change. Paying attention to the present, embracing challenges, and cherishing each moment will help us avoid missing out on the important opportunities life offers. When we live mindfully, we have the ability to turn every difficulty into an opportunity and open doors to a brighter future. Don't let worries about the future or nostalgia for the past cause you to miss out on the precious things happening right now. Because only by fully living in the present moment can we build a truly beautiful and meaningful future. As we've learned together, the present moment is the priceless treasure we hold in our hands. The past cannot be changed, and the future is yet to come, but the present is the only time where we can take action, make changes, and shape our future. Let's live with mindfulness, embracing every challenge and opportunity life brings our way in each moment. Don't let worries about the future or regrets from the past hold you back in the present. Today is your chance to renew yourself, to start a new journey, to learn and grow. Just like in Buddhism, transformation begins in the very moment we're in. Learn to let go of unnecessary worries, and focus on living fully and meaningfully right now, in this very moment. Thank you for joining us here at Dharma Wisdom Talks. Remember, every moment is an opportunity to change and grow. Live mindfully, and don't let life pass by without recognizing its value. I wish you a journey full of peace and wisdom.